Welcome, welcome, welcome to Off the Rails with Tisha Midnight. Today is the premiere of our first podcast, and today we'll be discussing the algorithm and how it affects Black people on social media platforms. So let's get started. So this is one of those topics that is becoming, it's starting to become a very, very prevalent issue because for several years now, we've, we've been having issues with censorship. Okay, so what we're finding is that there are these algorithms. We all know there are algorithms associated with each social media platform, whether you're talking about Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Discord, any of the platforms, right? But what we're finding is that on each platform, you'll find overwhelmingly that in the African American community, that our pages, our comments, our statements, our videos, however, have appeared to be flagged more heavily than our non-black counterparts, and that's an issue. And I want to do a deeper dive in regards to that because why is it that when we say certain things, our statements are taken are handled so much more critically, are looked at so much more harshly than those who are you can look at the statements and see that they are blatantly more harsh in most times than ours. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I had a friend literally this morning. I'm an admin in two, well, actually more than two groups, but in two blurred groups. And one of our friends was letting me know that, hey, he's been zooked, you know, which is basically code for basically being blocked off his page because of some sort of statement that he made. And when we saw the statement, it was nothing that should have been so flagrant that he was blocked from being able to make any comments on Facebook for the next few days. And that's becoming very prevalent, and it's been happening for years. So much so that there's countless articles that you see all over the internet in regards to it. So I'm just trying to figure out why is it that when we make statements, we're more harshly criticized versus others. We have it happening in Facebook. I'm watching where there'll be something as simple as just making a counter argument to something will get them flagged for several days. I have friends that have, once your account is flagged once, the moment that something even remotely sounds offensive, they're getting flagged for a week, 2 weeks, 30 days. Because, once you're on your timeline, you'll see them, you're like, wait, I haven't seen so and so for a minute. And the moment that you realize it's not there, they pop it up like, man, I was banned for 30 days. And for what? And then they showed the statement. It was like, it wasn't even anything worth being flagged for in the first place. Then you go on other platforms and they're literally showing, like on TikTok, there was several social media content creators that were showing things where they were even putting in hashtags, and the hashtags are being flagged. You put in Black Lives Matter, things along those lines, and they were immediately being flagged, like popping up in red on their page. But then if you put in the alternative to that, like Lives Matter, blah, 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 nothing was flagging for those. And it was very interesting because you were literally seeing the algorithm within the system showing it in real time that they were flagging certain content um, in the platform. And then for me, I'm right here, even on YouTube. There's a huge content creator. I am a huge, huge, huge fan. My family, myself, my son, my cousin, my ex-husband, we are all huge fans of Corey X. Kendrick. I'm going to mention flat out. He's trending. May still be trending as the number one. His posts lately have been number one YouTuber at this time because he has a following of over 10 million subscribers, right? Fantastic. That's unheard of. One, in the YouTube community too. He's a black YouTuber, right? Not black male YouTuber. He doesn't cuss, doesn't do anything. No lewd content. He's a gamer. He has some little skits and whatnot on his page, but pretty much wholesome content, right? He went offline. He was offline for like 9 months. He hit the 10 million mark. He came back online. Made a post because the post was he had made a post months back that once he hit 10 million viewers, he was going to retire. So the post that he came up, the video came back up, was in regards to his retirement. I won't spill the beans in regards to his video for those who may be following us who have not watched the video. But what's interesting about this is that the day that he posted his video, or that the video came up, the very next day, because he got an award. I'll say that YouTube sent him an award. That I can't really share. YouTube's awesome for that. They sent him an award. The very next day, he was flagged for a video that he made 2+ years ago. 2+ years ago. This man has had content out for over 10 years. 10 years. Never had any issues with his page for the entire 10-year span. And no one ever had any issues with his content. The moment he became the number one trending person, his video was trending as number one. So, and we're not gonna say, most obvious as to why he possibly could have been flagged, right? They found this random video from like 3 years ago that flagged and was pulled, and he got his first strike against his account. And for those who aren't aware, if you get too many strikes against your YouTube account, you'll just completely wipe all your content and wipe your account, no questions asked. There's no appealing that, nothing whatsoever. He came back a week later and spoke about this. He was highly upset because for those who follow him, he does not put out anything random like that. He doesn't curse, he doesn't think lewd. There's nothing going on his page that will cause him to be flagged in the first place. If not for him having backup of all the content that he has, over 2,000 videos that he put up, right? That he was able to try to discern what it could have been. When he contacted YouTube, nobody could tell him what it was. He got the runaround on it. This is just one issue. Now, mind you, the number one trending person on YouTube, no less, getting flagged, and you could not even give him any information as to what he got flagged for. Didn't ask him to pull it down. Didn't give him any information. Just nothing. That's on the now. This is just an example of something on the grander scale, but it's interesting that he became number one, hasn't had any issues, but the moment he became number one, his videos, he was trending the way that he was. That was when he started getting shot. He started getting shots fired at his page. So this is something that I just find very interesting. So it just rubbed me the wrong way, and I said, I really want to talk about this because of someone like he's such a sweetheart. And if you really follow him, you will see why that would rub anybody the wrong way, especially someone, from the African American perspective. The content, the type of person that he is, he doesn't put out anything that will cause him to be flagged. So why is it that he suddenly got flagged? And why? So that's just me. But
yeah,
midnight.
So my whole thing with the algorithm, I get the purpose of it. From the business standpoint, you don't have to have people actually moderating content. You have set the system up to moderate content for you. However, what you base the moderation on is based on what the actual programmer deems as, or not the programmer, because it may not be the person that actually set up the algorithm, but the one inputting the banned words, banned statements, banned content. So the person that puts that information in has a bias. So it's not just the algorithm has a bias. It's the input of what the algorithm is looking for that has a bias. So take, for instance, I made a joke. So I made a joke that women are savages, because women are savages. Like, you guys are ruthless, you're cutthroat when you're upset, and the only thing that makes you feel better is the immediate gratification of whatever it is you need to do at that moment in order to make you feel better. This isn't all women, it's just all the women I know. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But what that
Notice
did
that
is
I waited to see where that was going, right?
what what that did is it showed me that, okay, so the language that I have to make sure that I use is not that women are savages. I had to use a lot more words to come up with a very simple joke I was telling, because the algorithm has zero sense of humor. And this is because white people think racism is funny. Racism. So I had an issue where this young lady posted about her and her boyfriend. So they were friends for 8 years, and then they got into a relationship. So she posted about that. I thought it was sweet, hit the little heart button. I kept it moving, right? So she said that she got a whole bunch of hate mail, and people had told her, or people were making jokes about the fact that she got ran through, and then she gave this dude that she had friend zoned the opportunity to be with her at that point. So her response to that is, I can't stand cisgender or cis straight black men. I hope they have fun being bullet bags. My whole thing was, so your thing was, these men were the specific men. Their names were on these jokes or whatever they were saying at your expense. Those specific men said something to you, so you hit everybody with what you said. So the algorithm doesn't necessarily pick up on that, because there was nothing she technically said that was offensive, because of the words that she used didn't run together in the algorithm as, hey, I can see this. Because I'm not saying that the people putting the algorithms, or the people inputting the information in the algorithms, are racist, but they are biased. And when you're not an out and out racist, or even if you are, you wouldn't put in your racist rhetoric into the algorithm to flag that. People that aren't racist would know the racist rhetoric to put in the algorithm to flag that. What they go off of is what is mostly pop culture. And then when you also look at black people we're not a monolith. We don't think all the same. And this is the thing where a lot of other races get it confused about black people. We vote pragmatically. We our political leanings and our the way that we are is mostly against racism. That's how we vote. We vote against racism. We vote against things that we consider racist. We vote against the things that are immediately that we feel are a danger to us and our community. So that's one thing. However, in our lives, black people are way more conservative than a majority of liberal people that are also against racism. In our lives, we're way more conservative. So you may have had this issue with, or some people may have this issue with, white people don't want black people to be part of their families. They don't want you to date a black person. They so racist like that. Heard the same thing from my black parents. Heard the same thing from my black aunts. Heard the same thing from my black grandparents. It was the same.
If you can't use my comb, don't bring her home.
Exactly. So it's a
Sorry.
thing. No, I get it, and it's
That's
true.
probably what was said.
It's true, and it's why there's a big issue with people that grew up in the black community and people that are in the LGBTQ community, because we're much more conservative, and we align in our social lives. We align way more with conservatives than we do with Democrats, or than we do, not Democrats, but liberals, than we do with liberals. However, because we're black, you assume we must be Democrats, or we must be liberal in everything we do. If you give any black person, just randomly collect 100 black people and just randomly ask them questions about, their political leanings and how they feel, there's a lot of stuff we don't care about. There's a lot of stuff we don't care about. You do what you want to do, long as you leave me alone. That's a very conservative mindset. Because what we really want is to be like, if you leave us alone, I'm sure we'll be fine. But first, we need you to leave us alone. Stop effing with us. And that's what the algorithm also does. Now, the other thing the algorithm does is, let's take Talkity Tick. So that For You thing that it does, where it pulls up stuff that you may like this. So I never understand, because I'm not. So I use Talkity, but what I don't do, like I don't always like videos. There are videos I scroll past immediately, but I still find these raising potato salad people on my For You page. There's no way you think I like this. Why I gotta skip it? Don't put it on there. How about that? How about I don't put it on there? Even when I find the unseasoned chicken people on my For You page, I always click on the sound so I can get to that original creator. Like, who done this first? Who'd you steal this from? And one of the things that I always get caught up in is the mediocrity of the stuff that shows up with the melanin challenged people that show up. Like, but I get where that comes from. It's a sheer numbers game. So if I was to create an app that I wanted to get the most users on, I'm going to have to include the YT people. Like, they have to be included because there are way more of them than there are other people. If I section off any other demographic, when you include them, that encompasses and it catches everybody else. So the algorithm's also going to be based on that. Like, what is least offensive to them? And that's why a lot of black people get hit by that algorithm, because blackness is offensive sometimes. Especially pro-blackness, especially when they take anything that we say as pro-blackness as being a political stance. For me, Black Lives Matter has never been a political stance. And I never understood how people can think it is. It's not a political party. They don't have a caucus. I don't understand how it becomes an issue where people say, hey, if you put Black Lives Matter up, then I should be able to put whatever political party I'm affiliated with or whatever political statement I want to make. But that's not a political statement. That's a statement of fact. That's not a political statement. Well, I want to state a fact. Well, state all the facts that you want. But why does your fact have to seem counter to this one? State your fact that apples are delicious. Put that up. Nobody will actually come back and be like, all fruit are delicious. Nobody's saying that.
It's only that statement that's very triggering, and that always calls into question a deeper question. So
it's the leave us alone. Like, I don't understand how you don't understand that that's all that we want, is to be left alone. Like, if you leave us alone, we'll be fine. But since you want to keep messing with us, we say stuff like, all right, well, then stop the police from doing this. No. Well, then let us police ourselves. No. Well, then leave us alone. And it gets down to well, we can't leave you alone. You're part of this country. Then treat us like that or leave us alone. Because there are plenty of places that you leave alone. There are plenty of white people that you leave alone. So for me, yes, the algorithm definitely skews more towards making those, how do I say this, colored folks, the reds, the blues, the purples, making them feel more comfortable. And that's why a lot of Black people get hit by it, because
Because
we're not going to be left alone. And once what makes them uncomfortable, that's what they flag. So it's not just the algorithm, it's what's flagged the most. And since those are the most people in the country, and they're also the whiniest of people, are the people that are out here flagging and I'm offended. Click. Those people that do that.
but you bring up an interesting point because if you look at the algorithms underneath a different scope, the algorithms are basically another form of policing. It's a form of policing on social media platforms for people of color or for Black people, specifically Black people. Because, as an example, and because we admin together, do you remember when before we went through the name change with our admin group, and we had the relentless bots trying to join our group at one point. There
Hmm.
was a time for we had the bots continually trying to join, because of the name, because of what our name was at the time. Algorithm. It was an algorithm.
But see, that's a different algorithm.
But
So
no, I mean, but I'm just using that as an example that it was an algorithm that tied that together, and it started shooting stuff at the name, the name that we had at the time. And then when we shifted our name, the the bot stopped against the name. But I go back to just the algorithm in general. That when you see, I'm going to throw a theory out there
okay.
that when the Book of Many Faces sees a correlation to your network of association, your name, your network of association or
Right.
affiliations on the on the Book of Faces, plus the type of verbiage that you tend to use, that immediately kind of gives a kind of a flag. It's like a threshold, right? So the algorithm pulls in regards to how it's going to flag you, right? Before it automatically flags you. And when people, so when you make comments, you're kind of under the radar. Because if you notice, there's a new thing where if you're in groups, the Book of Faces will automatically flag stuff and pull it. It'll yank it for you. I didn't actually do that. The group as a whole, the admins, did not actually pull comments. We do that ourselves. Our members will report stuff if it's bad, if it's offensive. They'll they'll report it for us. The Book of Faces will, oh man, that looks out correlation. That looks bad. We'll pull it. Oh man, we'll yank that for you. We thought that was offensive. That's against community standards. Whose community standards? We run, our community runs the dozens all the time. We run dozens real quick. Book of Faces consider that against community standards, and you yanked a legitimate joke. That's against community standards. How? That correlation, affiliation, verbiage, yanked it. Theory, right? So that's against the group standards, right? Because of that, you can send out of a group. On the individual level,
Hmm.
that that affiliation, your verbiage, right? And then if you're in some random chat or public forum, and someone does report your statement, it immediately gets you flagged immediately, because it's like, oh, based on these particular check marks, oh man, you affiliate with all of these people of color. Your verbiage kind of ties in with semi offensive language up to this kind of threshold. Oh, it's safe to say that, oh yeah, that's offensive. Click, we'll pull it out. We'll go ahead and we're flagging automatic ban, right? There's also that's my theory on it, because I've seen things personally on the Book of Faces that should have been listed as criminal activity. I know it's criminal activity because it was
Criminal activity.
yeah, criminal activity on a sexual front, right? Literally on the sexual front. Flagged it. This is blatant porn. It's could be on some trafficking. I don't know. You know those weird pages pop up sometimes. You get tagged and stuff randomly out of those weird, like they tag a bunch of people to it out of the blue. You know who they are. They tag you to it. Flag it. It's within community standards. How is that within community standards? But somebody commenting against, they're having a conversation, and somebody said something that was they were just in the midst of a conversation, and somebody didn't like the comment. That's offensive, but not this. This is blatantly disrespectful, illegal, and that's okay. Please tell me that the algorithm that picked that up. All right, make that make sense. So there's different.
So here's the thing, and this is where Black people like sometimes are too creative for their own good. All right. So as Black people get flagged for things, what we do is we come up with different ways to say it, like the Book of Faces or the Many Face Guy, or or the Talkie, or whatever,
and,
right?
And for the record, I've never been flagged. So I've never been flagged.
I don't know what that was you knocked on, but it don't work. It don't work. It don't
Look,
work.
Don't do that. Let me do what I do over here. Stay over there.
You'll be better off. All right. Play what you would. So what you want to do.
Hey, I set it up, Allie.
But what happened is like we find ways around the algorithm by using different characters, acronyms, things like that. So the algorithm then gets picked up on all of these other ways that we speak. So instead of, you know what, I don't need to talk to the many face God anymore. Like I can talk to my friends in any other way, using any other method. But instead, what we do is we invite them into our lingo, invite them into our creativity. So like whenever you would say something about COVID-19. So if you wrote out COVID-19 or said COVID-19 in the meme or whatever you shared, it would automatically flag it, pick it up, tell you whether what you're saying is false or true based on their opinion of the facts. Okay. So then people started spelling COVID with an at symbol. Algorithm picks up on it. Okay, you people use an at symbol to try to change the letters. So then they put that in for every other letter. Like this is an alternate way of spelling this for everything else that they feel like may be bad or they feel like the algorithm may flag. So now the algorithm's flagging that stuff too. So it's because what we do, instead of calling it COVID-19, the sickness that shall not be named, we need to start treating it like Harry Potter. And just the colonizers that shall not be named. And when you do it that way, there's nothing for the algorithm to connect it to pick up on, except for colonizers. So then you would have to take that out. The unindigenous, indigenous thinking people that shall not be named. So you would have to come around or go around using their own language that they find not offensive in order to outsmart the algorithm. And that's really all that the people who shall not be named really do, because their words aren't as flagged. But when they do find, okay, so this is going to be something that gets us flagged, let's not say that directly. So I can call you a sheep, even though that is offensive to some people, but it's not offensive to enough people. It doesn't have a connotation of being anything racist, even though it has the connotation of diminishing your mental acuity. So if I say you guys are sheeple, it won't get flagged, even though it's the same thing as me saying you're a dumbass. It is the exact same thing, but because I used a different way, and because I used an unseasoned method of speaking, it works. It slips through the algorithm. So the algorithm is definitely out to catch seasoning.
But the
Spices.
irony, but the irony of that is that I know that we report race blatant, and even you know even the not so blatant statements made against us, and those statements do not get those people banned. They're reported all the time. We have conversations about that, and those people still go on about the day with no issue. So it's very interesting that in regards to the algorithm, because after a while, if what you based on what you're saying, the algorithm should start picking up on those repetitive statements, those repetitive issues that are coming up. Because if I am flagging, let's just put one up there, all lives matter, right? The way that people flag Black Lives Matter, all lives matter should automatically get flagged and banned. Should get people banned, but it doesn't. If I flagged the, especially with a hard ER on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That should get people flagged and banned, but it doesn't. In theory, that's what should happen, but that does not happen.
It's
And
not used enough.
it's used quite often, but it's flagged. But the algorithm says it's not against community standard. And
That's
even
because the
those
one with A is. So I'm telling you, it's not used enough. The one with A is used a lot. So here's the thing. When you're like, well, we flag it a lot. So how many people do you think the average, well, not how many people you think.
no,
I
so
just looked
it's
it up. I
we
just looked it up.
gotta remember.
The amount of people the average person knows is about 600 people. Most of the people I know are black. Now, the amount of people in the United States is what, like 350 million
Mhm.
or so? And there's approximately about 20 million people or so that are on social media, that use social media. Well, 20 million black people that use
Okay.
social media. But there's hundreds of millions of black people. I mean, hundreds of millions of people that use social media. So it's just the numbers go in a different direction. So you and everybody you know may flag that, right? So
So people,
that gets us
I'm
to about 600 or 6,000 people may have flagged something. But when it's coming in the other direction and those people are flagging something that you say, because there are more of them, their web is bigger.
so I guess I'm looking at the fact that people aren't flagging the A, they're flagging the ER. You know what I'm saying? Or the
People are
UH.
flagging the A too. So you got to remember that racists aren't just 100% racist. Racist, it there are levels to racism also.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
There's levels to
so
everything.
right. So just being offended by black people having fun, that's a high level of racism. But that's
Hmm.
not the I hate all of them and I want to kill all of them racism.
Of course.
So it's a little different. And then it's, well, this is offensive. Nobody should use this word level of racism because this has nothing to do with you. Mind your own business. But you don't want to. So there's a level of racism that's at. Then I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't have any level of racism because I like to mind my own business. Long as you don't bother me, long as you ain't out here trying to stop me from doing me, I could care less. Don't be out here trying to stop nobody else from doing them. I could care less. So, but there's levels to that. And so certain parts of it, they may not think that they're being racist by saying, hey, I think I'm gonna flag this because you shouldn't have called me that. And it always, you always see the default racism in a person rise when they're losing an argument to a black person.
Mhm.
Like that default racism as to how I win the argument is default racism. Always rises when they're arguing with a black person. So that's where the ER, yes, it's flagged, but not to the level of the A, because the A is used more prevalent, even by white kids who only have white friends. Because for them, and I don't want to try to defend them, but for them, they don't feel like, okay, I'm being racist by saying this. To them, they feel like they're being inducted into a community that has not invited them, that didn't tell them come in, that has not had them go through, hey, this is where you do and don't use that. This is where you do and don't say this. This is where you, like, there's been no one that walked them through the neighborhood and tell them the places not to go. And the places that, hey, hang out over here, but you go over there, you're in someone's business and they don't like you in their business. Things can happen to you. So nobody's walked them through that. So they may act as if they own everything everywhere they go. And that's a big part of what the algorithm does too, is the owner who dictates what policies will and won't be implemented are people of color. I mean, the people of color, the blues, the blacks, the yellows, the purples,
Not,
those people.
they're not.
Yeah, no, they turn black too. You hit them hard enough, they turn black.
Yeah, but they're
So,
not black. Their default is not black. That's the problem.
okay, but the colored folks. And because of that, that's where the bias is going to come in at. Because if I owned my own company and you are out here talking mad trash about midnight, flag that. Bet you they won't say it again. Because my company is a dictatorship. It is a monarchy. I am king. I am the dictator. I make the rules. I take all the risks. So I run it that way. It's not a country. It's not a free society. It is the society that I run. So the many-faced God, or the book of faces, that's what that is. That's a company. Now they may have put their tentacles into all kinds of other things. That's a company. It's a pyramid scheme where the person at the top makes the most. Just like the alphabet. What do you call that? The Xenons. They're the same way. That's why they sent old boy to space and back down. But no raises. He raised his altitude, but no raises for the people. The same way with Wally World. It is all, there is a person at the top, makes all the money, so they make all the rules. And even though there are more of us than there are of them, we're stuck in this idea that if you make the most money, you must be the smartest person. So you must have the best answers. When all money does is make your bad ideas sound good to yes men.
It's true. That last part, I do agree.
Well, all of that was good stuff. You should agree with all of it.
I mean,
It don't matter. It was all good stuff. All 100% across the board, 100% grade A stuff.
is that right?
That's exactly right.
Aha. Okay. Okay. So.
The algorithm said that my stuff was good stuff.
Oh, okay. Okay. These algorithms, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes down to these algorithms, it it comes full circle. Like you said, the people who input it, they're also the ones that have the power in regards to what flags and what does not flag. I'm gonna take it outside of this is social media platform because if you remember not too long ago when they were talking about how things pulled up for black people versus white people on Google. You will Google certain things and how when you pulled up white people for certain things, or when you pulled up certain things in general, it will automatically default and it will pull up. It will pull up white people for just general items or just for general search.
Yep.
Or if you pulled up something woman, it pull up white women, blah blah blah, right? And if you pull up something specific for a black woman, it will pull up all these negative pictures, photos, all these things in regards to them. Same thing with black men. And that algorithm finally changed and it started pulling up appropriate photos and images, because at one point it was like really really negative, and Google swore up and down that that was not intentional. We call foul because that didn't happen on everybody's platform. It's happening on Google's platform, specifically on Google's platform. So you can't tell me that your algorithm is written a certain way for that to pull up that way. You're supposed to be flat every on purpose. Because miraculously, when the attention was drawn to it, your algorithm suddenly the images pulled up like you were supposed to. Because, like you said, depending on how the algorithm is written, depends on how things flag and or how the information is retrieved. So these algorithms, the people that are putting these things in have, whether intentional or not, it could be a conscious or unconscious bias. I won't even like you mentioned a few minutes ago. It may not be that someone's racist or inherently racist. It could just be an unconscious bias that's out there, that you're putting certain things in but omitting other information. Because of that omission of other information, it causes other things to pull to the top, or filter other things to the top, or rather allow certain things to filter through that normally should not come through. And by default, it causes that bias to appear, or for racism to show up. And that's unfortunate because people are hurt or victimized, or they're mistreated because of those type of things appearing. And so while our topic today is primarily on the social media platforms, be it straight up Facebook, because a lot of us are flagged for just making regular comments or statements, even if you're in a heated argument, unless you're flat out disrespectful, things should not automatically get you banned. It's not fair that is overwhelmingly skewed in favor to one side versus another. Everyone should be flagged. If one person gets flagged, everybody should be flagged. That's one platform. On YouTube, you're finding that someone who has had almost a pristine history, they got an award from your company for hitting the 10 million subscriber mark, which is unheard of. And the next day, their videos are flagged. How, Sway? It's not how that works. It's not how any of that works. And you don't have any type of answer for that. What does that look like?
Well, and I get, so again, the
it's
reason they have zero answer is because there's zero personal responsibility for it. So there's not a person behind it.
They wind up going into some other information regarding that. But that's one person. But there's countless content creators on YouTube who have had similar situations occur.
Oh no, I'm not saying that.
And I'm just kind of going through on each.
I'm saying it's very impersonal, and the reason it's impersonal is because first off, I personally believe in capitalism, but I don't believe in 100% capitalism. I don't believe everything should be a capitalistic market. All right, now let's get down to YouTube. I believe it should be a capitalist market, and I believe that it is basing what it needs on getting by. Like every company gets by with the bare minimum of employees that they actually need. They don't get employees for them to be better, for the experience that you have with them to be better, for the workload on the employees to be better. That is not what they're in business for, and they will squeeze everything out of you that they can in order to streamline how many people they need doing it. So the whole reason for the algorithm picking and pulling things away and then just sending you the information as to why, the whole thing for the algorithm doing that, and then an actual person that you speak to only has the note that the algorithm give them. It doesn't have where a person actually went in, inspected with an actual brain. It doesn't
So
have where a person did that.
So I'm gonna interject for a second because once you, for YouTube, fuck capitalism for a second, because once you, for YouTube as a whole, once you hit a certain level within YouTube, viewership wise, subscribership wise, because you're making YouTube so much money, there should be a level of dedication out, a dedicated team, not like concierge in a sense, right? I'm not saying for just him, but once you hit over 1 million subscribers or something, because you're making YouTube buku money at that point. You're making YouTube a lot of money because if you're a paid subscriber, I'm a paid subscriber. I don't want to watch ads, so I'm paying you to not watch your ads. But if I wasn't a paid subscriber, I'm still watching. I'm watching ads, which means there's somebody else that's paying to get their content on whomever YouTube video. So there's money coming in either way. So there's money hand over fist going into YouTube. So when you have a viewership of that level, you need to have a team that talks to those people. So there is something wrong. There's too much money. There's too much money coming in.
So you underestimate greed. You're underestimating greed. So
no,
again,
I'm not underestimating greed because at some point, it don't have to be like that many people.
But it sounds nice, but again, it's not. Their whole thing is how many people can we get? Like, it's not how many employees we need to make this run smooth. It's how many employees we need for it not to fall down. That's it. That's it. So how many employees do we need for it not to fall down? And we're going to keep one less employee than that. Because we need the employees to know at any time they can go. And we'll still run fine. So they're not trying to run it smoothly. They're not trying to make it friendly. They're not trying to make it proper for the actual person calling in, the client, or the customer.
The platform is supposed to be user friendly across all channels. But that's not user friendly if you're getting flagged for dumb stuff, because that means there's something wrong in the system that's flagging stuff that shouldn't be flagged. There is an issue out there.
Have you ever tried to contact customer service from Google?
Yes.
For anything?
Yes.
And so you know the difficulty in one less person than what we actually need. So that is their entire program when it comes to customer service. Customer service is the thing that is the most cost.
But I can say this: when I did get a hold of customer service, their customer service was A1. It was phenomenal. I've contacted customer service with Google like 3 times in the entirety that I've ever had to dealing with Google, Gmail, and whatnot. I've had phenomenal service when I had to speak with them. So no issues there.
Was it difficult to get to them? Do you know why it was so difficult to get to them? Because they do.
Because they try to take care. There's a lot of things that's supposed to be automatically assessed. There's other avenues that they have set in place to help to assist you.
You cannot automate customer service. That is the reason why it is so difficult to get to them, because it can't be automated. So the next thing they do is they outsource it. So when it's outsourced,
somebody here, ironically.
No, I don't. No, outsourcing does not mean it has to go to India or Malaysia or any place like that. Outsourcing still happens in the United States. So there are companies that actually handle customer service for other companies. So that company doesn't have to pay them. Now, when you do that, again, you're paying as low, like you're having companies bid on doing your customer service, and they're bidding as low as possible. And then they're still trying to make a profit, which means now they're hiring anybody as long as you can actually talk. But you don't have to have any feeling about customer service. You don't have to like customer service. You don't have to believe in what you're doing. And this is why, like, if you meet anybody that works in a call center and ask them how much they like their job, they'll tell you they fucking hate it. I'm sorry, excuse my language. They'll tell you they hate it.
Freedom of speech here.
They'll tell you they hate it. And they hate it because it's the same thing that they do with pigs. Like with hogs and pigs, they're just rolled into a trough, fed just enough to stay alive, shot up with some antibiotics, and told to make sure that they're here every day, sick or not, because their whole thing, the way that most companies, when you outsource customer service, they're paid by the number of calls that they answer. So they don't care if you're sick long as you're there. They don't care about your kids long as you're there, because the way that they make money is you sitting in the seat and the call comes in to you. Money. Next call comes in. Money. Next call comes in. Money. So the only thing that they're worried about is how many people do I need to have to make sure I can answer as many calls as possible without having to pay anybody for not taking a call. And what that does is that runs people into the ground, and this is why they hate that job. Now, I'm not saying it's not a profitable um, business model, because there are plenty of companies that outsource customer service that it works. There are plenty of companies that it works. But when you find that you're talking to somebody and they're rude and they don't care, this is what they're dealing with. And this is why they don't care. They do not believe in what they're doing. They're doing it because they need money.
Understood. Well, we went way off the rails in regards to the
That's not
algorithm.
really off the rails, because again, the people that are doing the algorithms, the people that are inputting that are the same. They're just employees
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that are
Everybody.
inputting the
Yeah.
information.
Hmm.
But that's a directive that's coming from up, coming down. It's not as though they're making suggestions that are going up to the algorithm. It's the suggestions are coming down, and it's all based on what gets us the. Because here's the thing: if you ever noticed anything, the thing about companies, the one thing that they really want is for you not to think of them as a company. They never want you to think of them as a company. Facebook has done the Book of Faces
Is
has
that
done
called Facebook?
the book of faces, and the many faced God has done everything they can for you not to think of them as a company. No company is ever telling you, hey, we're a company and we're out to make money. They're always trying to sell you on that they're a family and they want to be part of your family and all of that. But they're not. They're a company and they're out to make money. But they never want you to think of them as a company. And if you think about like some of the biggest companies, not the most profitable, but the biggest companies with their hands in the most stuff, you never know who their CEO is. And the reason they have all these different shell companies and all these different tentacles and everything, but they're never all coming up to the same company name, it's because they don't want you to think of them as a company. Like Mataresso, Santo, whatever. Them have their hands in all kinds of stuff, all kinds of different businesses, all kinds of different food products, but they don't want you to know it's them. So they don't stamp their name on everything. They make a whole nother company and have that company stamp their name on it. And all they're doing is pulling in the profits from it, because they don't want you to think of them as a company that does this and does this and does this. Because now you would judge that company, and I don't want to be a part of that company. Fine. Well, how about this product? Doesn't say anything about my company on this product, does it? Absolutely not. So now that's why companies do that, because they don't want you to think of them as a company. And so that's why the Book of Faces does the same thing. It's all about trying to act like they're family. And so what they're doing with the algorithm is making it a safe space, not for Black people, not for melanin rich.
For all people.
They're not necessarily making it a safe space for all people, because that's not their goal. Their goal is the most profitable people. Like who is the most people that we can reach, and how do we make it comfortable and for them to feel safe? Because if you think, for a long time they didn't mess with any of the weird groups that were already there, that were actually calling for violence and everything, because they were so active. Let's leave them alone, because the advertisers, long as you're not thinking of them as a company, long as their ads don't bother you, long as that they're not associated as a company associating with this, then they're fine. But as soon as you say, well, your company is associated with this, now you're bringing unwanted publicity off of their message, because their message is always family, and their message is always taking care of your family. So now you're taking direction away from what they're trying to portray.
Mhm.
So that is, remember that these social media platforms are not for you. They're not for melanin rich, soulful people. That's not what they're about. You can tell by the ads, you can tell by the terms and conditions that that ain't what they're for. And any of the other ones, like the pound or gram or metric, whatever that thing is, like even that one before they sold it, and the reason they sold it was because, hey, I was in this to make money. I am a company, only in this to make money. Once I made money, now you wanna buy it. I think I would like to not have to worry about this anymore. Not have to worry about moderation, terms and conditions, none of that. Here you go. That's why nobody's saying anything about their algorithm or their lack of algorithm or the lack of rhythm. But it
That's
comes
one of the
down
few that I think that's one of the few that you don't have as many issues on as Instagram. I don't hear as much issue with the Instagram as I hear with the other platforms. One of the few I don't hear as much about, but it was Facebook, number one offender. Right behind it, TikTok. And TikTok is the big offender because of that. They showed like there was a recording showing when you put in your hashtags for
oh yeah.
search criteria that the keywords putting the keyword search and they were flagging. They would pop up in red. Like these are words that are offensive or whatnot. And they would be words that would be associated with us. And if you put the basically the white alternative, unfortunately, they would go through. And those be they'll be white racial slurs or whatnot. And they would be just fine and it's sad. And it's very, very unfortunate that TikTok would allow that to go through. And then even if you remove that aspect of it, you would see they were talking about how with the algorithms with the dances, right? Known for the originality of us having our dances out there, the original content creators for dances, and then the algorithms will be pivoted for the white counterparts to get all the viewership and receive receive those viewers, so they would get paid more than the actual originators of the content of the actual dance. And you could see that when the black content creators put their stuff back, that there was less viewership because you can't create anything that's not that you cannot mimic what's not there.
Right.
So our our content creators have become they become more savvy on that. Just to show, just to prove a point that when we don't do certain things, that algorithm, where can you pull from with your algorithm if there's nothing there to pull from? And that just goes to show you once again how the algorithm how things can be twisted and meshed to put others in a better light, in a better position. Just something as simple as that, right? So on one hand, on Facebook, you have others being flagged, being banned and flagged because of because of their statements or whatnot. And then on TikTok, you do have the keywords that are showing automatically that they're being flagged. You can't even put it up if you put those keywords in. Then on the other aspect of TikTok, if you are a content creator and your stuff is really popular and you're the original content creator and people mimic your stuff, you don't even get TikTok will push the viewers away from you and push them to your white counterparts instead of pushing the viewers to you as an original content creator.
So it's not that, because
It's been proven.
it's not that. And
Okay.
it's the numbers. That's what I was saying.
They
It's the
they mess
numbers.
they mess they mess with they messed it they mess with it. It's been proven.
It's the numbers.
Okay,
So
they mess
so
with it. They
okay.
mess with it
Okay.
so
So
that
do
the
you remember?
numbers
Hold
so
on,
they
hold on,
drive
hold
the
on. 'Cause
numbers
I'm gonna prove it
down.
to you. All right. So you remember the cheerleading, right? You Can't Rock With Us, and they showed the soulful, colorful people doing it, and then they showed the unseasoned. So you've never seen it. All right, so
I would have to. I may have seen it, but I don't know. I don't recognize it from this.
I'm not about to do no cheer right
No.
here, right now. But it's they show it, and they show when you actually do it with rhythm, when you actually do it with soul, when you actually do it like with style. All right.
You said You Can't
And
Rock With Us?
I don't know what it's called, but I've seen it a lot of times. So they show the original. So you remember what was it called? Bring It On.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you remember how when they did their cheer, how the actual people that, because they bring all the soul and all their what they brought up with them, and they
Mm-hmm.
do the cheer from their hearts, and it shows their roots and everything when they're doing it, and then they show the other side of town when they stole the cheer and how it seemed stale, but it was better than what they were coming up with.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you got to remember that the YT people do not have a problem with that mediocrity. And because they don't, their friends will like this mediocre stuff. They will love the mediocre stuff. And that's what pushes that mediocre nonsense. It's still stolen. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying that it's pushed because it was stolen. The push is because the palm colored people like mediocrity. It is what it is. It is This is something I can do. Being very stiff and doing it, I can do that. I can definitely do that. I don't have to have talent to do that. And that brings me back to something that I guess we can end with this. But you remember there has been a big going around on social media. There was that big thing about, do you want $500,000 or a dinner with Jay-Z?
Yes.
All right. So the biggest thing about that is that works if the person that you're going to sit down with doesn't have a discernible skill. They're not talented at anything, but they've somehow made it, right? So then you can ask them, well, how did you do that? And you won't have to have a discernible skill or an actual innate talent to do anything to do what they did. It doesn't work with Jay-Z because he has talent and a discernible skill he used to get where he was. Like, I don't that's what I always pulled from it. Like, I don't understand what makes you think that just sitting down with Jay-Z is going to make you now be a better rapper and
Is
now
that
be a
what? Is
better
that what people are
entertainer.
pulling? Is that what people are pulling
No,
from
people were saying that they want to go sit down with Jay-Z. Why? You're not going to be any better at rapping
that? Was it? I'm assuming
unless
like
you already have that discernible skill and talent. You don't need to sit down with him. You need to take that money and go sit down with someone else.
you can say that might do a lot of stuff with it. Period. So
Even
I'm just
Jay-Z ended up saying,
well, take the
take
500,
take the
k.
5K, yeah.
I saw that. I did see that. I was like, who's sitting down with? I mean, it's great to have the conversation with Jay Z, but if you're doing your money right with the 500K, you probably have a conversation with Jay Z anyway. Just
Eventually.
networking. Yeah, just networking, you will be able to do that because he's really big on black ownership. So if you're doing what you're supposed to, you're gonna be in the right place for this. And
Like that segue.
there we go. So with that being said, let's talk about today's black-owned business better known as our Bobs. Let's talk about our black-owned business or our Bob. This week we will be talking about Cutlass Grille. Cutlass Grille is located at 805 North Battlefield Boulevard in Chesapeake, so all the way from California, IA. I am talking about my business back in VA. Yes, VA, baby, believe that. So Cutlass Grille features Jamaican cuisine. It is owned by Sean and Rachel. They were open back in 2005. They were running different stands out in various locations. But I'm not going into the background too much. let me tell you about how amazing their service is out of this world. From the moment that you hit the door, everybody greets you. Very relaxed atmosphere. I like the cool, calming colors when you walk in. Oh my gosh, the food is absolutely amazing. My personal favorite is it's a close tie. It- It's their oxtail. Sean's oxtail is phenomenal. Let me tell I cannot stress it. His oxtail is phenomenal. A close second, I love his fried whiting and his shrimp, because what makes it amazing is not only is that it's fried to perfection, is that he makes his own cocktail sauce. Mm, so amazing. Everything is so good and it's made from scratch, and you would be doing yourself a disservice if you did not make yourself down into his restaurant. It's located across the street from Chesapeake Regional and on 805 North Battlefield Boulevard. Great restaurant. They are phenomenal people, sweet people. And on the weekends, they have live entertainment. They have the steel drums playing with music going in the background. Always, always phenomenal service, amazing food, amazing drinks. You will not be disappointed. I encourage you, whenever you get a chance, please go visit Sean and Rachel at their restaurant, again, 805 North Battlefield Boulevard. Oh, and let you know that they have online presence at www.cutlassgrille, that is CUTLASSGRILLE.com. They also have a Facebook page at Cutlass Grille Restaurant. So please check them out. Let them know that Tish sent you. And I hope that when you get a chance, that you will go visit them, because you will not be disappointed. I can promise you that. And that is our featured Black owned business for this week. And again, we featured our Black owned business because we want to show that Black owned business has phenomenal service and exquisite products and services. So I was really feeling it. Thank you for tuning into our premiere episode of Off the Rails with Tisha and Midnight. I appreciate you tuning in. Please
Thank you,
don't forget
guys.
to thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Join us in the comments. Tell you what you like, dislike. We want you to tune in. Let us know. Let us know what you think about the algorithms. I mean, what have you experienced? What have you encountered? What do you? How do you feel about what we were talking about? Have you had any issues or experiences with Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok? Let us know. And like we talked about and previously, what is something that you would like to discuss? Please let us know in the comments, and we look forward to talking to you next time. Thanks again.
Have a great week.